I was 9 years old when I first got arrested. After being abandoned by my mother, I started selling weed. I just didn't want to be poor no more.
Jacob was very good at hustling little dime bags.
I'd make around $8,000 a month, and I started selling coke. That really changed a lot of things for me.
When Mr. X came around, I knew I had something to worry about.
The first time I went to Mexico, I was like 19.
We kind of became a different person overnight.
The drugs were coming in from our Mexican cartel. There would be 40, 50 keys a week. I was making $200,000 on a weekly basis. When I heard the knock, my heart went into my stomach. That's when I knew that I was going to prison.
Good. 207 Baker, take one.
It's a war in which the finest forces Mexico can muster are struggling against well-armed cartels.
My name is Jacob Diaz. When I was 14, I was homeless. I made a vow to come out of poverty.
60 people die here every week in a war that makes Baghdad untamed.
Soon after, I moved to Acapulco, and I became a drug boss for one of the largest Mexican cartels.
Yeah, it's a war.
How will this end?
Until somebody wins.
As a kid, we were living in Little Mexico. It's a mobile home neighborhood in the middle of nowhere. There was literally no opportunities out there, nothing. Like the closest store was like 30 minutes away. There was 4 of us and my mom. It's my older brother, so I'm about 2 years younger than him. And then my sister, which is a year younger than me, and then my youngest brother, who's a year younger than my sister.
We didn't really have much to start with, but at the same time, we were just determined about getting out of poverty. Out of the 4 of us siblings, I feel that Jacob was the most adamant about improving. He's very motivated financially.
I never accepted my childhood. I never accepted the way we lived. I just felt like people were judging me because I was poor. I didn't have the nice clothes, the haircut, and the nice house. We didn't ever have a car. I remember going to the gas station and stealing bubble gum. And I would take it, go to school, and sell it for $1 a piece, bring the money back, give it to my mom. You know, she needed help financially.
My name is Michael Brazil, and I was a childhood friend of Jacob Diaz. I met Jacob in my neighborhood. He moved in a trailer behind us. Jacob and I was hood rats, just terrorizing the neighborhood.
I had a lot of anger as a kid. I was 9 years old when I started vandalizing houses. We would just go in there and spray paint, like smiley faces, curse words on the wall, just trying to see who can do the most damage.
One day, we busted windows, we broke walls, and pretty much destroyed the house.
After we vandalized the house, we seen cops in front of our house. At first, we didn't think nothing of it.
And that's when the police started questioning me and Jacob.
Everything was good until the cops said, you know, they seen a little speck of paint on my sock. Just a little blue speck.
I had a couple screwdrivers and such for breaking in the doors in my pocket at the same time.
And that's how they put 2 and 2 together.
And then that's when me and Jacob both got arrested.
I remember I was home with my mom, and the police had Jacob in the cop car. And they were explaining to my mother what happened, and she was just tore up from it. She was just really hurt.
I mean, she was crying bad, so bad. I was 9 years old when I got arrested. We were taken to juvenile detention center. We got booked. Our parents picked us up.
We ended up getting our court date. Me and Jacob, of course, both pled guilty. We was both sentenced to 300 hours of community service. We both were put on supervised house arrest.
And then they put us together to go to a program called Project Challenge, where you go camping for 3 days and they teach you how to survive in the woods. It's the worst thing ever. I was 10, Mike was 11. A lot of kids were 14, 15, 16.
We was along with, I believe, 12 other people, including 2 officers.
You know, they had the main guy there who would try to be like a drill sergeant. Do you understand? Yes, sir! Try to like intimidate you and scare you, make you seem like life is miserable. They make us carry 40-pound bags, which is your canteen, your tent, your supplies, pots, pans, food.
And we pretty much walked all day long until it was about dark, and then we would set up camp until the next morning, and we'd pack up and do it all over again.
The whole time I was camping, I'm thinking about how I could provide a better life for my family. I was just so far away from them. I wanted to be the man of the house.
When Jacob got out of the program, slowly but surely, we all lost contact with each other.
My sister was taken from us. The state took her. My older brother moved out, like 13, 14 years old. He started going into the streets.
And then I got into a little scuffle at the bus stop one day. I was taken away. I had to go to a juvenile camp for 13 months. My brother Jacob was the only one that was there at home.
To make money, I would break into cars, take purses, wallets, and parking lots. And when I take the money, I bring it back to the house and give it to my mom. I did everything that I could do, but it was never enough. I was by myself. It was very lonely. You know, I had no one to go to. And around that time, that's where my mother abandoned me. I was like 14. I come home from school one day, and she wasn't there. I know she went out on the weekends with her friends, and so I didn't think nothing of it. I said, oh, you know, she'll be back tomorrow, maybe the next day. Tomorrow never came. Soon after, I was by myself in the mobile home. I got a knock on the door from the landlord. And she asked me where my mom was at. I told her I didn't know. She goes, okay, well, you got 24 hours to leave or I'm gonna call the cops. So I got a trash bag, gathered up a few things that I could that fit in a bag, and went to Mike's house. I was still going to school. I remember the teacher asked us, I want everybody to put on a piece of paper what you want to be when you grow up. I put on a paper that I want to be rich. A friend of mine behind me, he's seen what I wrote, and he said, don't put rich, put wealthy, because wealthy means you'll have money forever. So I started selling weed. It didn't matter what I was going to do. I just didn't want to be poor no more. After being abandoned by my mother, I became homeless. I would sneak into my friends' homes. I would eat leftovers from my friends, stay the night, and leave early in the morning when they go to school.
At this point in time, I pretty much left Jacob and just bailed and moved back to Alabama. I knew that he was going to figure out a way to get out of the situation he was in. Jacob was very good at hustling little dime bags and such like that.
I met a Jamaican. He had just moved into the neighborhood, and I got some weed off of him. He would give it to me without paying for it up front, and just start going from there. You know, going around the neighborhood, I started selling weed. I knew this girl, she delivered pizza. One day I just called her and I said, hey, do you need some weed? How about I'm gonna place an order for pizza. You give me the pizza, I'll give you the weed, and you just say the guy wasn't home, and I'll make you throw the pizza away. It was a win-win because I didn't have to come out of my pocket, and I got something to eat. Her friends wanted it. She started buying more, and I would make more money. And it just kind of snowballed into that. After a few months passed by, I started really picking up on selling weed. Probably make around $8,000 a month. After being abandoned by my mother and being homeless, I really didn't know how I was gonna be able to bounce back from this. So at that moment, I was living a life and doing the best I could. I'm never gonna have anybody tell me that I can't have anything.
When I got out of the juvenile camp, I was sent to foster care. About 6 months into the foster care, my brother was found.
A case manager for the state ran into me. He begged me to come with them. And I said, once they throw you in the system, they really forget about you. I'm not gonna go with you until you can promise me one thing, that I'm gonna be placed with my brother. Once I was reunited with my brother, it was surreal. Like, I couldn't believe it. He changed physically, he matured a lot.
I was super excited to be around him, to find out what he was going through, what happened in that time span. I missed him.
I got along with the lady who took care of us. She was very nice. My brother and I were her favorites.
There was 3 meals, went to church 4 times a week. I felt like there was an opportunity, and I enjoyed it.
I continued to sell weed. High school for me, I really wasn't into being popular. I really went there to sell drugs. My younger brother was the popular kid. So all the girls were sweating him, and that's when I met a group of girls that was around him.
Carlos and Jacob dressed very well. They played sports. They were always at parties. I had no idea he lived in foster care. I actually knew Carlos more. He was the bubbly guy who dated everybody, and Jacob was just off to the corner.
When I met Shayla, I was really scared of her.
There was a physical attraction, like, oh, that's a cute boy in school. But it wasn't anything further than that on my end back then.
When Jacob turned 18, he aged out of the system. He kind of became a different person overnight.
I didn't want to leave Carlos, but I was told to move out of foster care because I was of age. So I became homeless again. At that time, I was approached by 2 friends that I met in the neighborhood. Their uncle moved to the United States. We'll call him Mr. X. He needed a driver. I would take him to go shopping, go out to eat, whatever.
When Mr. X came around, I knew I had something to worry about.
A few weeks after, we gotta make a stop. And we pull up, he comes out with a Walmart bag tucked in his armpit. There was a big bulge. We go to the house. He goes, I need you to help me count some money. And at first I was like, count money? Like, who needs help counting money? You do it real quick, what is it? So he pulls out the bag and dumps out the cash. I've never seen that amount of cash in my life. 100,000, 200,000. And then he told me what he did. He just said he was in the drug business and he didn't want me involved. Mr. X took a liking to me. One day, he goes, hey, if you want, you can stay with me. You don't gotta pay no rent. I'm still gonna pay you. You keep your money for driving. I was like, okay, cool. I was very naive. I had no idea the scale or the severity of what I was getting into. This job was gonna change my life. At the age of 18, I became the driver for Mr. X. I went to a party. A friend of mine comes up to me, he goes, hey, you know where I can get some Coke? Maybe. So I went to Mr. X. I need an 8-ball. He gives me a little bag, a sandwich bag, tied, and then there's a little rock in there. I say, how much do you want for this? He goes, give me 80. $80 for this? $80 in weed is like, an ounce. I'm in the wrong business. Soon after, I was hanging out with another friend of mine that he asked me for Coke as well. I said, how much? He goes, 9 ounces. I did some numbers in my head. And I just threw on another $1,000 on top of it, and I sold it to my friend. And that was my first big deal. I was about 19 years old when I started selling Coke. That really changed a lot of things for me.
That reality of what they were doing, I did not want to be around it at all.
One day, Mr. X told me, I want you to help transport for me. He realized that based off my looks, if I was to get pulled over, nothing was gonna happen because I looked innocent. I don't look scary. I don't have tattoos. I'm not in a gang. I don't come off as intimidating. The drugs were coming in from Texas. There would be 40, 50 keys a week. And we just start dropping them off at the buyer, come back in a few days, collect the money, and just go back and forth like that. I learned transportation from the drug cartel, interstates, checkpoints, border patrol, and that's how I knew about hidden compartments. We would hide kilos of Coke in dashes, doors, gas tanks. I started taking on more of a leadership role with Mr. X, running the logistics aspect of it. I became very good at reading people, how to profile people. I didn't pick drivers who would get pulled over easily. These people would have to have clean records, older, make it look like you're retired, bring a dog with you, women who were enrolled in college. And if you couldn't enroll in college, it would enroll you in college. A married couple with the kids in the back. We send you to Disney World. So when you go back to Texas and if you get pulled over, where are you coming from? Disney. We used a lot of horse trailers. We would have hidden compartments. So if you get pulled over, I said, what are you doing? You got the fake paperwork. They're not gonna check the address as long as everything looks good on paper. That's what you have to do, is paint a picture. The more you give, the less they ask. The first time I went to Mexico with Mr. X, we gotta take the cartel's money back to Mexico. His family opened their arms up to me, the family feeling that I've always wanted.
When Jacob was going to Mexico, I felt that he was doing something that we dreamt of doing. But in the back of my mind, I knew it could have some serious consequences.
Everybody plays their role, and I never really asked questions. I was always in a survival mode because I was homeless before. Once it dawned on me, the operation, the scale of it, it was just scary. But again, I made a vow to come out of poverty. For someone who knows what it's like to not be able to have a car, not be able to have a house, phone, clothes, I weighed out my options and chose the better decision. I would fly in to Mexico City, but I would go to Acapulco a lot. It's a drug dealer's paradise. 20, 21, we partied 6 days a week. I experienced what it was to be overnight success. I was making 100,000, 200,000 on a weekly basis. Sky was the limit. So I was living a double life. Coming back and forth from Mexico to the United States, no one knew what I was doing. Because the time you want to really show people that you've made it, you really can't do it. I didn't want to become a victim. This was during a time where it was a drug war. It was the worst Mexico's ever seen. This is when people were getting hung on bridges. We was at a club. A guy rolled someone's head in the middle of the dance floor. Shootings in broad daylight. It was like Dodge City.
He had his own house, but I was the only one allowed to go over there. I think we were getting ready to go eat, went to go wash my hands. I'm looking for soap. There was this duffel bag. And I open it up, and it's cash, just more cash than I've ever seen. My heart just sunk.
He goes, I looked underneath the sink, promise you, I swear I'm not gonna tell nobody.
I felt that what I discovered put him in harm's way if somebody else caught wind of it. And I asked him, how about we just get out of here, not turn back?
I didn't want to run the risk of him saying anything to anyone. I was worried about cops finding out or people coming to the house, stealing my money. It was at that point that I knew that I had to move. That was the last time I let anybody at my house. A few months later, I was gonna go back to Mexico. I had 30,000 in cash for the Mexican drug cartel. And I didn't have time to go to the bank and exchange the 20s for 50s and the 50s for 100. I had to put them around my belt. I stacked them long ways and strapped them all the way around. I knew how it worked for customs. You have to go when the shift first starts because they haven't been pissed off yet by somebody. We go to Orlando International Airport. I went in first. The guy told me to move forward. He wanted to pat me down. And that second, I knew I was fucked. He touched every single stack in there. I froze. I was like, it's over. And then he went to my girlfriend. And that was it. We got on a plane. I wasn't comfortable until I fly over Mexico City. And when I saw those lights, I was home. Coming back and forth from Mexico to the United States, it was surreal. In the United States, I was worried about the DEA come to arrest me. In Mexico, there was a turf war between different cartels. I've never thought in a million years I'd ever be where I was at in a short amount of time. And I had no idea how much longer I can keep up with this lifestyle. While I was in Acapulco meeting a lot of people, we went to a nightclub called Palladium. Noticed that there's two guys following me. They got these knapsacks. Back then, if you wore one, it's because you had a submachine Uzi in there. And Mr. X was with me at that time. I tell him, I said, hey, you know, we got two guys following me, right? He goes, oh yeah, those are the bodyguards. And we point out 20-something people with knapsacks on, spread out throughout the club. As at that time, I said, okay, I think I'm all the way in. I come back to the United States for another run. I was out with a bunch of friends and we're drinking. So I go do a beer run with a buddy of mine. Come out of the parking lot. I roll the stop sign and I see a cop car coming towards me with their headlights on. So I pull into this plaza. He pulls in behind me. I was really scared. I had a suspended license. Inside my backpack, that was close to $300,000. It was Mr. X's money, and I had to make sure nothing happened to it. I told my friend, when I put it in park, I'm gonna jump out and run. I grabbed the backpack, I push on the brake, throw it in park, and it was like the gun at a horse race. I just took off. As soon as I start running, there was a fence. Jump the fence, jump the highway. At this point, there's helicopters. I hit a patch of woods where there's no one around. I throw the backpack as far as I can. I run away from the backpack into another neighborhood and I hide under a van. They have a canine come out and try to trace me, and the canine was so close to me, I can hear him breathe. Three, 4 in the morning, freezing cold. I decided to turn myself in. They charged me with resisting without violence and driving on a suspended license. I went to jail for the first time. It's a hard pill to swallow, but 4 months later I was released and I went back to the patch of woods. You know, the backpack was covered in mildew. The money wasn't damaged at all. I had to return that money back to Mexico. I didn't want to get into trouble. It was the cartels. It was about 2010. I get on Facebook, I start reconnecting with, past friends, and I run across Shayla.
He just messaged me to see how I was doing and asked me for my number. We talked for hours every night. He eventually gathered up some courage and asked me out.
You go out on the limb because that's where all the fruit's at.
Every day he insisted, hey, can we meet up? Can we meet up? And I always made an excuse. And then finally I was like, you know what? Let's go have a drink.
She finally gave in. We hung out, had a good time. We talked every single day after that.
I know that when he did come to visit me in Orlando, he did live a very high life.
One night I told her, I said, hey, I'm gonna pay for your school. I'm gonna give you $86,000 in cash.
I had no idea what was going on at all. I was a bit naive, I think, with, the lifestyle he was living, but eventually it hit me and I was like, something's not right here. I just told him, you're crazy, and I completely cut Jacob off.
Once she turned down the $86,000, I knew she was the one, because everyone around me, except for Shayla, was trying to get money from me. But I didn't know if I was gonna ever see her again or anything like that. One day, I come across a newspaper article where somebody gets arrested in Ocala. Something told me to show it to Mr. X. Hey, do you know this guy? He goes, yeah, that's one of the brothers that we deal with. I said, well, he got arrested for drugs. Mr. X asked me to make a decision. They owe me and Mr. X close to $96,000, but the police are coming for us next. I said, let's get the most money that we can and then just run. I go to collect money from the other brother, not the one who got busted. He does seem a little weird. He seems a little standoffish. As before, he was real friendly. I'm trying to collect $96,000 from him. And he's blowing me off, pushing me off, give me a couple more days, give me a couple more days. And I go back to Mr. X to talk about it. And about 5-10 minutes later, I get a knock on the door. When I heard the knock, my heart went into my stomach. Police have a certain knock. I'm not answering the door. Mr. X opened the doors, and sure enough, AR-15s in his face, tell him to get on the ground. They rip open everything. They start breaking in the walls, ripping open beds, couches, flipping the dressers over, trying to find drugs. And they asked me if my name was Jacob Diaz. We got a warrant for your arrest for drug trafficking. I said, that's impossible, I don't sell drugs. I said, you got the wrong guy. They said, no, we got the right guy. Turns out the other brother had been busted. He's cooperating, and he was wearing a wire. He was recording me trying to collect $96,000 from him, trying to collect money because I never got it. Then they get done, and they don't find nothing. I'm in the car with a DEA agent. We're going to the county jail. And before we could put it in reverse, 2 guys come out with a shoebox and a big smile from ear to ear. They found the $86,000 that I had for Shayla. That's when I knew that I was going to prison.
Ay, 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 canta y no llores.
My time in the Mexican drug cartel was over. DEA, FBI, ATF. They came to arrest me on August 25th, 2011.
After a few months, I hadn't heard from Jacob. I reached out to him through Facebook. There was no response, and I started seeing a lot of messages that said, "Free Jacob." I was just in shock because personally for me, it was a moral issue.
I was very shocked that Jacob was arrested. I always thought Jacob was in realty, and that's where I believed he made all his money at.
Mr. X was with me at that time. When we got arrested, they put us together, and after about 2 weeks, they split us up, and that was the last time I seen or heard from them. My trial lasted a week. They found me guilty in less than 30 minutes. I got 10 years. 10 years, I'm gonna go to prison.
I found out Jacob got arrested and he was in prison. I still had a lot of anger towards him. Almost felt like, I told you so. Back when I found that big bag of money under your sink, I told you then. Now who's the dummy?
I didn't really have a good communication with a lot of people while I was in prison, most in part because I was not a really good person. So a lot of people really disappeared from my life. I really had like a sit down with myself. I can't come out of prison the same or worse than when I came in. I have to reinvent myself. It took me about 5 years. I ran into a guy that found out that you could repair credit. He gave me the book. I tried it on myself. Before prison, I had an apartment and I broke the lease. It was still on my credit report from 2010. Wrote a letter to the collection agency. 30, 45 days later, it was off. My credit, it was at a 535 and I made it go to a 772. And I was so excited. I was ready to start a new life.
After a while, I told myself that I need to reach out to him, just to remind him that I do love him. I'm not angry at him anymore.
May 2018, he reached out to me via email again. I just felt that guilt. This man's in prison alone. And we would email 3-4 times a day. I just feel horrible to know that he's gonna, come out of prison, then no one's going to be there to receive him.
Once I was released from prison, it's almost like you don't believe it. So you go down to get discharged, you go to the Greyhound station and you get on the bus. It's like a culture shock.
I got up at 5 in the morning and jumped in my car and drove to Tallahassee and just walked into the Greyhound station. And then I looked over to my left. There he was, holding a bag.
I didn't expect it. And I'm sitting there just like a deer in headlights. And it was Shayla. She surprised me. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I was abandoned by my mom. Then, I was abandoned by Mr. X, who I consider to be a father. You go through life thinking people forget about you, and when you see somebody that just surprised you, it means that much more. My life now is a lot better than what it used to be. I have my own business, a credit repair business. I've done so much damage to my community, with being in the drug business. I really wanted to do something where I can actually give back.
I told him, hey, if we're gonna do this, this isn't gonna be a side hustle. Let's make a business out of this. So we have clients under contracts now.
He's super motivated. All he wants to do is help people. I'm proud of him.
I think about the past. It's hard for me to believe where I came from and what I've been through. I had to go through a lot in prison in order to become the person that I am today. My life now, it's like a blessing.